return to the open session, and we'll go directly into public comments related to January 9th, 2023 agenda items. No public comments this evening. Thank you. Item 6, consider and act on the investment officer's change. Ms. Cordell.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. This evening, privileged to introduce our interim CFO, Debbie Cabrera. Hi, Debbie. We are so fortunate to have her with us in this transition. She's actually been the interim in 9 school districts, so she knows what she's doing with transitions. She's been with us for about a week, and it has been a very positive addition to our team, and we're so grateful for the work that she is doing. But because she is here, that means we need to change some things to make sure that she has access and authorization. And one of those is the investment officer's change. And so there is an attachment that lists what needs to be changed with that. And so we are asking for board approval for the attachments as presented.
So moved, Jason James. Second, Marvin Bobo. Opposed? Thank you. Consider an act on amending the authorized representative for banking and investment pools.
This falls on lines, and so it is our recommendation that the board approve amending authorized representatives for banking and investment purposes and approve the resolutions as presented.
Second, Jeff. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Consider an act on the Director of Technology, Dr. Tinsley.
To introduce Mr. John Korb, who we are recommending for the position of Director of Technology. And let me tell you a little bit about John. He was a graduate of Texas State University and has served 12 years in public education. And while working in education, he's obtained his master's in administration from Lamar University and pursued opportunities to improve his technical proficiency in data management. So this led to his position in Bastrop ISD as Director of Instructional Technology, where he managed operations of the technology department. So we believe that John will be an exceptional fit for this position. He has experience as a classroom teacher, Region 10 Service Center Coordinator, Director of Technology Services. We believe these experience will allow him to not only have insight regarding the infrastructure of technology, network, equipment, and devices, but understanding the end user, who is the classroom teacher, and the impact on students. So John has recently been training for a triathlon as well too. So he's been quite busy, but we are thrilled to have him coming on board to lead this department.
We need to consider an act on this gentleman, and we appreciate you being here. So with that, I'd leave it up to you all for a motion.
So moved.
So moved that we approve. Second, Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Welcome to the team. Oh, Anna says we need to get a picture.
Go, Joe. Go ahead. Welcome, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, well.
All right. Presentation. Item 9 is a presentation, staff stakeholder master scheduling committee.
Thank you. As I shared with you at the last board meeting regarding, it was part of the budget presentation, is that we are going to be looking at master scheduling here in the district. And so a stakeholder committee has been formed. And I wanted to go in a little bit more detail on the role of the committee and the outcome that we are going to have prepared for you at the February board meeting. So just a reminder that our schedules are designed to meet student needs first and foremost, to ensure that our teachers are prepared and have the structure in order to deliver engaging, rigorous content. Going the wrong direction here. I reminded everyone about our why with master. When we look at master scheduling, first of all, we want to retain that excellence of learning for all of our LISD students. Teacher retention recruitment is also a factor that we want to make sure we're taking into consideration when we look at master scheduling and the impact on that, and also to respond to our revenue challenges, as I referred to when we talked about the impact on the budget. The considerations that were reviewed in December is that we're going to be looking at our current model, which is currently an 8-period day, which at the secondary level has 2 planning periods for our teachers and 8-period options for students. We'll also be studying the 7-period day, primarily for Willow and the high school. We'll be doing further study on the 4-day student school week, and also looking into block scheduling. And finally, we'll be looking at extended planning days, at possibility of adding extended planning days into our calendar for our teachers to allow for more time. So our how is that we established the committee. We are going to have I'm going to share a timeline with you, and then we will be looking at options for feedback and input from stakeholders. The committee is made up of teacher representatives from our campus, each campus, administration, and all of our campus principals are serving on the committee as well. The first meeting is this Thursday. Our committee will spend a day together really just digging into the research, the data, analyzing our current state and possibilities for our district. Then we'll be convening again January the 26th to, we're going to have some subcommittee work that we'll be doing some reporting out. And at that meeting, we're hoping to formulate the input process that we will be using with stakeholders. And then February 6th, we'll be analyzing that data and then coming together to present findings at the February 14th Board of Trustees meeting. Just a recap of that, we'll review the research and impact of scheduling models. We'll be gathering information. We'll also be looking at other districts of their scheduling models that they are using, maybe similar districts to Lovejoy, and again, the analysis of it. And then at the same time, while maintaining the focus on those 3 areas of legacy of excellent, teacher and staff retention and recruitment, and then responding to revenue challenges. So, any questions? Just kind of, it's a big picture overview of the process of the committee.
Employees.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit more about opportunity for parents and community to provide feedback and be involved in this process?
That's the input process. We're envisioning possibly a survey that we will be sending out to parents and all staff.
They might be coming out.
We're looking at creating the survey at the January 26th meeting. We really wanted to collect some information and data before we created that survey, and we wanted stakeholders at the table to assist with that. So I would anticipate the survey will be going out between January 26th and February the 6th.
Hearing on the Texas Academic Performance Report, TAPER, Dr. Tinsley.
So this is quite a lengthy report that you received, that we receive as a district, and this is an annual report that is provided by the Texas Education Agency. And we call it the TAPER, which is Texas Academics Performance Report, and it pulls together quite a bit of data regarding performance of students, demographics, looking at student groups, looking at programming, and then also looking at district staff and impact. So I've been throughout the year providing you some data when it looks at our academic achievement, looking at the accountability. Really, this just is the final report that comes forward from the state. There were not any significant changes. It just added some additional data, mainly regarding some of our, we look at teachers, we look at years of experience, we look at ethnicity, we look at how we're comparing with like districts. So there was really nothing that was new that the report that we have not been aware of since August of 2022. The highlights of the report, it does confirm that we have their accountability rating. It's official of an A rating. It notes the distinctions both at the district level and the campus level, and that was also lifted up in our district and campus plans that were presented earlier this fall. We met all requirements of special education programming according to the report. It goes into, it also addresses our ACT, SAT participation, our STAR and end of course results, graduation rates, dropout rates, attendance rates, and then also the CCMR ratings, which again, Lovejoy came out very, very well in all of those areas. So that's really what the report is. It's quite lengthy. I think it's a little over 148 pages in length. So if you have any specific questions or comments. And this taper it's posted on the district website as well as each campus website. And it's been there since December 16th.
Taking this report in much easier. And so I appreciate that for sure. I'd like to see us keep that practice up going forward so that it's not like eating an elephant all at one time. So thank you for that. All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing if there are no other comments. All right, item 12 is our Texas. Let me just do this. Well, didn't we just do this? Texas.
It's because there was open and closed the hearing and the presentation.
All right. So now we're item 13, Lovejoy Scholars Program Planning for 23 and 24 school year.
Yes. Okay, Lovejoy Scholars Program.
Of course, we accept our scholars, and what we have figured out is that many of our scholars, they're either buying homes in the district, they're building homes in the district, or they're tuition based. So those are the scholars that we do attract. A lot of times they start out as tuition based, but then they stay and they become permanent residents there. So those are the three applicants that we get of students. Just from last year. So last year, what happened was in December 12th, we basically closed open enrollment for Lovejoy Scholars or inter-district transfers. We had accepted 348 students December 12th or before, okay? However, when we ended the school year in May, on May 27th, we had 276 Lovejoy Scholars. The reasoning being is because we had about 20% that actually became residents in our district. So it's definitely an onboarding to get students in our district that become, scholars that do become residents. This year, we opened it up again. And of course, we did have a tuition there. So we accepted 231 accepted scholars as of September 1st. Right now, we have 223 that were there December 15th, and we lost about 10% because they also became residents. Anticipating we'll probably lose a total of 20% if this continues. 10% became residents. We lost one student because they had moved out of state. But mostly once they start, they stay. as because the kids are still here because they become residents. So we did open the application process back up, and we enrolled about 7 more. And so we had 229 scholars that started when we came back on that first day of school in the spring, January 4th. So 229. Of course, those are at different rates because of the 4,000 versus the 9,000. So we'll get into that a little bit more here. Yes, sir.
Lovejoy Scholar unenrolled. The rest reflected in the numbers became residents. So we didn't lose really any.
We didn't lose any. No, we had one unenrolled, and from what I understand, they have moved out of state from what I understand.
Okay.
Okay. So basically 10% are moving into the residency. Okay. This is how they are distributed across the district. So we have 15 in kindergarten and 17 in 12th grade. Okay, so just kind of looking at that, we do know that the majority of them we find come in like 7th, 8th grade, mainly, for high school. Just looking through the application process, a lot of the parents say they want a small town feel. They don't want them to go to super large high schools, super high schools, that type of thing. So I think that's why we see them more at the secondary level there. Also, just looking at that, one thing that I wanted to be clear is because we do have that transition of just typical scholar, tuition-based to a resident, I really started looking at this more, just framing my mind at a semester at a time. So if you look at this, so going into the spring semester, spring only, we have 190 that came in at the $4,000 tuition rate, but really is only $2,000 for the spring. And then new scholars, we have 39 at the 9,000 tuition rate. However, we'd be collecting 4,500. So that's what we'd be collecting in the spring. Does that make sense to y'all? Okay. So just wanted to be clear about that because it's a revolving door into one. And then, so if we looked at the fall, so if all of those scholars came back, I removed the 16 seniors because we had 16 at the, of course, $4,000 rate and 1 at the $9,000 rate. Okay. So that would leave 212. And so that would be for fall of 2023, this next fall, that would be what we would try to collect in tuition. It's what we'd collect in tuition. And then I made a note at the bottom, if the district accepted 15 kindergarten scholars, because we're losing 17 seniors, but we had 15 enrolled this year, the district would add 67,500 in fall tuition to that because of the rates. Okay. I just wanted to make some clarifying points there. Remember in 21-22, there was no tuition was collected, and that's when we had about 348 that had entered, about 350 there. Tuition is collected for any student that does not have proof of residence by the first day of each semester, unless they're an employee's child. But that's how we determine if they pay tuition for that semester. So on the very first day of enrollment. That's why we collect that there. Starting in the 22-23 school year, any return Lovejoy Scholar and their siblings, first time enrollees, they were assessed the 4,000 yearly tuition rate, or 2,000 each semester. And then, of course, also this year, if you look for the 2023 school year, 9 siblings were accepted, and 1 was not due because of the space. We didn't have it in that grade level at the time, so we did not take a student. And that's what we look at, is we look at, do we have the space for them? We did distribute a sibling survey, and in that survey, as of January 6th, 40% was completed of that. And what the survey shows with the 40% completion, 12 siblings that were accepted at the 4,000 21-22 tuition rate will or may apply. A lot of them were saying, depending on if we raise the 4,000 or not, or what we accept the sibling at. Okay. The survey also shows that at the 9,000 tuition rate, 4 siblings said they possibly will or may apply depending on the cost there. Okay. I did also do a Lovejoy Scholar Interest form, which is somewhat selfish because it helps me out because I get a lot of questions daily about Lovejoy Scholars. And so it helps me, and on that interest form, I started that, opened, I believe, November 28th. And since then we have over 90 that have been completed that are showing interest in coming. And a lot of them, are looking at timeline and those types of things. None of them are current. The only ones that, yeah, they would all be new unless they have a sibling. And they might have completed it if they have the sibling, but I noticed most of that there's not a correlation. I think most of them that have a sibling have not done it. I just noticed a few on there. That's a good question though. Okay. One thing that I would like to do is, I would like to look at just a timeline of when we would take the application process. Last year was much later, and I do think that interfered with some of the scholars that came because they had to make a decision either with us or with private schools. The unknown from parents on the comment section that I'm getting right now, they're like, when will we know? Or, and I think just knowing that, are we going to have it again? Yes or no? And what the cost is going to be so they can plan ahead. And also for their kids. I mean, we want to do what's best for their kids. So lots of those questions is what I'm currently receiving. So that's why I would like to open it up. And like I said, we have another, I know a board meeting January 23rd, but I'd like to open it up the 1st of February, which really is, last year I opened it up, I think April 1st. So it's really 2 months ahead of time. And then having where returning applications are due. Returning applications, we have all that data. There's not a lot to complete. It's basically, let us know if you're interested. And the parents, it wasn't a huge form. I'm hoping to do electronically. We still were using paper last year, which was also cumbersome. So I'm hoping to do it electronically. And then looking at acceptance notices, that type of thing. And then collecting tuition earlier in May. But this would also give parents a heads up of when that money would be collected. I felt like we took I think 34 more scholars that we accepted into the program, and then they did not come because we didn't accept, we didn't take tuition at that time. It was due a little bit later, so they made some decisions there. So anyway, and then of course the balance of the scholar tuition due for the second semester, we'd say November 1st there. Okay. And then some considerations just to think about, of course, those that entered before or the 21-22 school year had the $4,000 tuition. Those this year were $9,000. We do need to consider the tuition rate for incoming siblings of the 21-22 scholar students for this next year. Right now they did $4,000. What are we going to do for next year if they have a sibling? Also talking about board approval tuition and even the process for 2 years. It's not something, even if we need to go back and change it due to some other financial impacts or those things, I do think the consistency would be a positive just from my communication with them. And also I'm going to ask for you to consider the timeline of the application. I will tell you just in closing, we had budgeted, we planned on collecting a little bit over 800,000, and we actually have collected over $1 million in the program. No, that is not.
Allotment or the state funding we get for each of the
Correct.
students
That
as
is
well.
just tuition.
Right.
Correct. Questions for me?
Being able to look forward and provide some certainty around us offering the program one. And obviously, to the extent we can, provide some confidence of the fee.
Mhm.
I think everybody understands the world is changing.
Right.
And if things happen that we can't predict, then we obviously would have to reevaluate tuition. But at the same time, the intent would be to keep it the same to the
Right.
extent we approve that, or whatever that number
Right.
is. Whatever we approve it at, the intent would be to keep it that way, with the exception to extenuating factors,
Right.
having us have to reevaluate that situation. So,
And also, I mean, us knowing earlier, it helps with staffing, it helps with planning. There's, all those types of things go into that. Enrollment numbers.
the sibling situation is interesting.
Uh-huh.
So you have 12, that means there's 12 already here at least. So that's 24.
Well, actually, there's 12 that may come.
12 that may come, that means there's 12 here.
Yes.
Right? If they're
Right.
siblings.
Correct. So
So if you get to a point where you don't get the 12, you probably lose the others. Right?
possibly.
So that could be,
something
I'm
that
not
they-
sure the loss is worth the gain.
Right. Right now, the questions are just about uncertainty from parents.
Right.
And it's not, probably 25% of the comments are about that.
And we don't want to have uncertainty.
Right. And just, it's kids, it's about the kids. So just so that they know what they're doing for next year.
So I get that. I'm usually supportive of us giving some certainty around the program and around the fee.
Makes me think of college applications a little bit. That's the world I'm in, you
Yeah.
know, you got a plan, so I
Yeah.
get it.
These folks that you talk to, what are the options when they're coming here? Are they thinking coming here versus going back to Allen? Are they thinking coming here versus
Oh.
going to?
A lot of the high school, especially they don't want their children to go to a large high school, and they feel like Allen's a large high school.
So they considering here a private school, or are they
Here or
considering here?
private school, yes.
So they're going to go to,
A lot of them also are out of state, and they moved here, and they're either in.
they're
you
the
know,
building by people. right?
Yes, yes. And sadly, many of them, they live, and they'll tell me, I live half a mile from the high school. And I'm like, I'm so sorry you're not zoned here. And they're, those types of conversations.
I guess
think
my
that-
question is, we're competing with other, we're competing
competing
with
with
other
other
private
private
schools.
schools.
We're not competing with other public schools.
No,
Which
we're-
their timeline is probably early,
it is.
so we need to get
Yeah.
ours in line
Yeah.
so that
I know many of the private schools were having open houses in January when I was preparing for this over the winter break. They were, they were actually having open houses this month. So that's why and I also know last year, I had parents calling me saying, we have to make a decision between here and this school.
Just for peace of mind, earlier is
Yeah.
always going to be better and well
Yeah.
received by
Mhm.
members of the community.
Yeah.
That's the feedback I get from the community is when will you know, when will you, the
Mhm.
decision, and I think about where that falls in the budget process and all that. So if we're gonna move that up from 2 weeks from now for decision-making purposes, I think that's important for those people.
Yeah, but last year we were dealing with something that hypotheticals and
Correct,
assumptions. Now we can have real data before the budget's approved. which
right.
is good. That's kind of what I said.
Right. And, last year like our assumption was we were hoping to get 17 at the $9,000 rate and we got 34. So that to me was, yeah, it was.
Well, the 81 is a pretty good indicator.
Mhm. Yeah, just quickly.
Any other questions for Anna?
We have capacity, right?
Actually, I have that right here if you would like to ask. Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Capacity.
Functional
Just asking
capacity.
about capacity and
Yeah.
in the individual grade levels.
Yeah, I looked and every grade, at every campus, we do. Now grade levels, it's a little bit more specific,
Right.
And I know something that when we look at projections, we need to look at is that, like right now, I know second and third grade numbers are high. That's why we couldn't take kids in some of those. So those are some things that we consider. And also, do we add a teacher there? Does it make sense to do that? Because we have the room, we have the space.
We have the space. And
Correct.
so it's just a matter of who applies, what grade the level they apply
Right.
for,
Mhm.
and our capacity in terms of teaching capabilities at that grade level.
Right.
So all those factors have to come into play. And so you take that with early planning. There's very few win-win situations. I can see this only as a win-win because you get the advance notice, we get the advance notice for planning in terms of budgeting.
Right.
It's, I can see how this works really well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
All right. Item 14 is community coffee talks. So just to open this up to you all, obviously we want to move forward with a little bit different format and have these quarterly. I think discussion wise, February, April, September, and November possibly for 1 hour increments. We would post these meetings so that all board members could attend. Our goal would be to continue to have an intimate or a personal conversation with the community and not have necessarily an agenda posted with action items, but an open discussion format like we have had. To be able to give each board member an opportunity to be present. So the purpose of posting would be to ensure that we're legally in compliance with that. The challenge will be for us in the community is that we can't really deliberate things that are going to happen in a future board meeting or that could happen in a future board meeting. It's more to have a discussion and talk about things that are of concern or interest, or really just to stay connected relationship wise with the community so we can continue to hear from them. So that's kind of my presentation. Would like to get something on the books for February. And if you guys have any questions or want to add to that, then I'd love to hear that.
I think as long as we can continue to, like you just said, the purpose of a coffee talk is a more informal back and forth dialogue. Then there's you can directly contact any one of us. And then there's this format where we're at a board meeting and we conduct business. So we have to understand that each has its different mode of communication. So making sure we're clear about the purpose of why we're doing the coffee talks, I think is important.
I think we might hand out meetings and to help people understand why there is a spokesperson for the board, why there is this structure so that we can have these communications and not have challenges with violating that or having it become an issue. But I would say the coffee talks we had were really excellent. The community was excellent. The discussion was excellent. And I think it did a lot for both of us to interact together in even though it was an informal setting, in a formalized setting, called meeting. So, all right. If there are no other comments, then we'll move on to item 15, Ms. Cordell.
Yeah. January is School Board Appreciation Month, and we certainly appreciate each one of you for your leadership of the community, of the school district, and being the ultimate volunteer. It's a huge sacrifice of your personal time and a huge sacrifice for your family for you to serve in this way, and we are deeply grateful. We will celebrate you more formally at the regular January meeting, and then we also have some fun things planned out on our campuses for you to connect more closely with our students and our teachers and our staff. So we're excited about that, but I just wanted to remind the community that it is School Board Appreciation Month.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And with that, I don't have any announcements. This would be not planned, but a record-setting meeting. What's that? We're adjourned.